So, good morning again, and I hope you're all doing good. You're all set for today's lecture. So, to start with, I would like to comment a bit about the course textbook. So, there is one recommended textbook, but as you know, it is a bit expensive. There are other books also you can refer because C programming language, it is standard. You can you follow the lectures and you also read any of the references. I will provide few more references. You can read them. Okay, so no hard and fast rule. That you should have that textbook which I mentioned. Along with that, so I will post on the course website this book. This is not a book. This is so this is a kind of a write-up from Stanford University. It's really good handout. You can see the whole of the C programming language is summarized in 45 pages. So C programming language is concise. It's not like it has tons of things. The concepts are very minimal, and we can use these building blocks in a very clever fashion to build complex software systems. So, like those of you, at least from the language perspective, you have 3 months to read 45 pages, how hard it could be. Yeah, all these things will be, so I'm a bit slow on the e-learn and other setting up things, but everything will be set up by this weekend. And so this will be available online. You can, if you just search for Essential C, you will also get this one. So let's review the ideas discussed from the last class, and then from there we will move forward. I would like to review So I would like to review what is Vrinda says for section B, the pro course starts in 2030. What do you mean by that, Vrinda? C pro course on e-learn. Don't worry, I will fix it. Okay. So on e-learn, so e-learn is, I was a bit busy, but I'll take care of everything. Don't worry. Yes. Okay, let's focus. Let's come back. So as you can see from this 45-page write-up, the ideas are in C programming language. You can get a good glimpse of it. So this handout, it should always be, keep referring to this handout whenever you get a doubt. So the first thing, so since we did little bit of programming, we wrote a couple of programs perhaps, and the most important thing in a program is, you take input data and you do some computations on the data and you transform the data into output. In the abs.c program where we are computing, in the abs.c program, where we are computing mod A, absolute value of A, not mod A, absolute value of A, we used two variables. One variable is A to store the data. In order to store the input, we stored the input in which variable? What is the variable in which we stored the input? So we stored the variable in the input A. So this is input. And what is the type of the variable A? What is the type of? It is an integer. And then where did we store the output? In which variable we stored the output? We stored the output in the variable abs underscore a is output. And the type of the output is also integer. So when you write a program, so you need to think about what is the input, how I am going to store the input, and you do some computations on it in where do you store the output. And in between, some intermediate values might be generated. You need to have a plan for storing those intermediate variables. So here, if you see section 1, and then once you have the data, you do some computations on the data. So in section 1 is on basic types and operators. In order to perform computations on the data, you need to perform, you need to use some operators, addition operator, subtraction operator, multiplication operator, so on and so forth. So far we have seen one of the data types, that is integer data type. We will see other data types as the course progresses. The second, in section 2 here, it is about control structures. You can see that we use the if statement in this program, in the abs.c program. So we checked if a is greater than or equal to 0. If it is yes, we do something. If it is no, we do something. If it is yes, we just say abs underscore a is equal to a. And if it is no, we say abs underscore a is equal to minus a. This is what we did. And this logic, this algorithmic logic, we expressed it using the if statement that is available in the C programming language. And then there are functions. So in our C ours is a very simple program. It has only one function, and that is the main function. So section 4 is about functions. We will study more about functions later on. And then if you see operators and standard library reference, we used a couple of functions, printf and scanf from the standard library. And that is the section 7 here. So let's get going. And, I will. So if you go through this book, you can see section 1 is on basic types and operators. And so far there are other data types, but we have looked at int. This is the data type that we have used. There are other data types. Again, we will see those data types as the course progresses. And then we also looked at comments. How do we write block comments or multi-line comments, block comments? Yeah. And you can see here how the comments are. And how do we have single line comments? This is single line comment. This is single line comment. Again, we have seen this in the programs we have written before. And we talked about variable declaration statements. You can see here there is this statement int num, which tells that there is a variable called as num, and the type of the variable num is integer. And then we have this assignment statement following that variable declaration statement. Num is equal to 42. What it does is it copies the value 42 into the memory that is associated with the variable num. And this happens when you execute the program. Only when you execute the program, the memory will be allocated for the variable num. And this assignment statement will also be executed when you execute the program. So where will the memory for the variable num be allocated? Where will the memory for the variable num is allocated in the RAM. So somewhere in the RAM, so when you give the program for execution, some 4 bytes of memory will be allocated for the variable num, and 42 will be written into this memory location. Okay, so like 42 will be written in this 4 bytes of memory when you execute the program. Great, let's keep going. Are you all with me so far? All right. Yeah, this is the assignment operator we have seen in the last session again. So equal to is an assignment operator. It is an assignment operator. And I is, when we say I is equal to 6 followed by semicolon, the value 6 will be written into the memory location associated with I. And when we say I is equal to I plus 1, what will be the value of the variable I after the second statement got executed? Great. So this statement I is equal to I plus 7, it can be written in this particular way as an expression tree. I is equal to I plus 1. So this I which is occurring on the right hand side of equal to, this is a read operation. This is a read memory. You go to the memory location associated with I and read the contents of I, and you will get a 6 there. And 6 plus 1, so if I annotate in a different color, so 6, no, this is 1. So 6 plus 1 is 7. And so, and what we have here, I is occurring on the left hand side of the equal to operation. This is a memory write operation. So 7 will be written into the memory location associated with that. There is no new location that is created. It is written into the variable I, into the memory location associated with I. Are you fine with this expression tree? This tree, we are representing the statement in the form of a tree. And this tree is evaluated bottom up. Okay, so here I contains 6. So 6 plus 1 is 7. So the value of this node, no, this particular thing, the value of this is 7 because 6 plus 1 is 7. And I is, and we write 7 and we have the equal to operator here. So we write 7 into the memory location associated with I. So variable I gets updated and it gets a new value 7. And this is all happening in the RAM because the program is in execution. The memory is allocated to variables in the RAM. On the right hand side, I know when we have I plus 1, we are reading the contents of the memory location I. Don't worry about I plus plus and all that, guys. Just understand this one. Okay, I plus plus is what is called as a syntactic sugar. We will take up that question, why 4 bytes, not 8 bytes? Why 8 bytes? Why not 16 bytes, Ashutosh? Okay, so we will take up that question later. Just focus on this assignment operator. I hope you all understand this. You are all with me on this one? The simple statement I is equal to I plus 1. The I on the right hand side of equal to, it is read operation. The I on the left hand side, no, we are writing into the memory location associated with I. That's all. Please remember this. There is a question, do we have to make notes? Nothing like that. It's up to you. I don't have any preference on that. Okay, let's keep going. And then in the program, we have used the relational operator if A greater than or equal to 0. So A greater than or equal to 0, the statement can be true or false. And then if you see, there are overall there are 6 relational operators in C: equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So usually in the class, I don't discuss about all the different kinds of operators that are available. You should go and check. Okay, these are all language features. So what is available, what is not available. So since there is a question, what is A equal to checks whether A is equal to 0 or not. But when we say A is equal to 0, it assigns 0 to the memory location associated with A. So this is A equal to is a this is a comparison operation or a relational operator, but this is an assignment operator. Single equal to is an assignment operator, double equal to is a relational operator or a comparison operator. Okay, let's now come to control structures. And in the control structure, so there are different forms of if statement, and this is the if statement. This is the particular form that we have seen in the last class. We don't need to have an else part, but the particular form that we have written in the last class, it has both the if part and else part. So if this expression is true, then the statement gets executed. Otherwise, the else part of the statement gets executed. If the expression is true, then the if part of the expression gets executed. Otherwise, the else part of the statement gets executed. There is no elif. There is no elif in C. So there are some questions. I will take those questions later, not now. So they are not relevant to what we are discussing. We will revisit them. And this is a summary of the discussion of the language features that we have used in the program written in the last class. So now let's open the program. Let's revisit the program. And so we will we will learn a very cool tool called as GDB, debugger tool, in today's class. How many of you who are exposed to programming before use GDB? Okay, don't worry. I will explain what GDB is. I just want to get the sense of how many of you know a little bit about GDB. Okay, don't worry about it. So now, this idea of program debugging, it's a cool idea. You write your program, it usually never works. And so when the program doesn't work, we say that there is a bug in the program, and we try to debug the program. So this idea of debugging came, someone in section A asked why, what is debugging? So way back 40 years back, maybe 50 years back, when computers are realized using vacuum tubes, just to realize a small calculator kind of machine, some small computer which can do some basic calculations, a big building consisting of vacuum tubes is deployed. So the transistor that you use, the transistor that we use to realize the circuits in your silicon, the width of the transistors is like less than the width of our hair. But back then, when 4 or 5 decades back, when we were using vacuum tubes, like switches and relays, they are very big. And so some bug in the vacuum tube or relay kind of can make the system behave badly because it's not operating right. The signals are not getting propagated appropriately. So they have to debug stuff. So that's, I think, from what I heard, that's where the origin of this term debugging has come. So, well, in any case, so lot of time you will see, you will write a program, it doesn't work. You have to figure out what is the problem in your program and how you would like to debug your program, how to eliminate that bug and see that your program executes correctly. In order to do that, there are many techniques. The people use, initially beginner users use lots of printf statements to see what is happening in the program, to trace the program execution. But using tools will make your life easy. Using tools will make your life easy. So now I will show you how this debugger works. It's it will be fun. So this is your program here. I'm having, yeah, I think we have everything in place. So when you compile your program using GCC abs.c, what happens is all the information about variables such as abs underscore a is lost. They are translated into memory addresses. So they are translated into memory addresses. So because of that, if there is a problem in your program, then what happens is you will not be able to easily isolate the source of the problem. You will not be able to easily isolate the source of the problem. So we need to retain the information about these variables so that we can map what is happening at the machine level to the source code level. What is happening at the processor level, we want to map it to the source code level and see what is happening. In order to do that, we have to compile our program using GCC -G. So GCC -G abs.c. And then when you do that, file a.out, you can see here, with the debug info, you can see that a.out contains debugger information. That's what it says. But on the contrary, if you don't compile it without -G, if you compile it without using -G option, and if you do file a.out, you don't get it with debug information. That's not available. So in order to use the debugger, we have to compile our program using GCC -G abs.c. -G is a flag. Okay, if you want to use the debugger, we have to use -G option. So Anika has this question. So GCC shows the errors. GCC shows syntactic errors. That is, if you miss a semicolon here, then GCC compiles, it's a syntax error. But GCC cannot help, what the bugs in your algorithmic logic. Your syntax might be right, but your algorithmic logic may not be right. And for that, you need to use deeper program analysis tools, deeper logic analysis tools. Okay, so now we are all set to go. GDB a.out. Yeah, yes, Anusha. Like for logical errors, it's usually GDB helps. So now, so let's run the program. So we said run, and I enter 10. So in GDB we are running the program. If you want to run the program again, you run say, and then if I give minus 10, again it says no, absolute value of minus 10 is equal to 10. You're all following me? So this is, we are in GDB prompt now. You want to run the program, run. If I give minus 8, it gives 8. Are you all with me so far? So we are running the program in the GDB as a part of the GDB tool. So, but if it is just this, it wouldn't be fun, right? So we need so let's say break, I want to put a break point on line number 12. Line number 12 contains if a greater than or equal to 0. So I say, so break on line number 12. So it shows break 12. So there is a break on line number 12 in the file abs.c. And now when I run the program and let's say I enter minus 10 or let's say I enter 10, then what happens is the program executed, the GDB executes, the program goes on executing. When it hits the control on line number 12, the program stopped executing. See, I think you should listen to me. Okay, so wait. So you should listen, just follow what I am saying and then hold on and ask questions. Are you all with me? What we did, we put a break on line number 12. We run the program started executing. When the control reached line number 12, the program stopped executing because we kept a break point on line number 12. Are you all with me here? Yes or no? Now, we want to check whether the variable, the input that we have given is appropriately read or not. So if I do print A, you can see that the variable, that the value 10 that we have entered at the keyboard is now stored in the memory location associated with variable A. And now, if I print, abs underscore A, what do you think will happen when we print abs underscore A? So it can be many things. It can be random values, garbage value. It depends on the system, and there is no guarantee that this is what we will see. Not null value, some random value from that address. Because we didn't initialize abs underscore A with anything. One more thing here, if I say print address of A, this is address of A, the variable A is allocated memory. So the variable A, this is the address of A is printed in hexadecimal form. So don't worry about all that, just focus on this 300 and 304. So the variable A in the memory, so this is the variable A, it is allocated 4 bytes. So this is 300, 301, 302, 303. Okay. And variable abs underscore A, this is variable A is allocated these 4 bytes. And the next 4 bytes starting from the location 304 is allocated to variable abs underscore A. And again, this is not guaranteed whether A and abs underscore A, they are adjacent to each other. It is not guaranteed, but it happens. Okay, usually they could be allocated adjacent memory locations. It depends once. Well, so again, so where are we in the program right now? On which line we are in the program? We are on line number 12. We understood that variable A, the address of the variable A we looked at, we examined. We examine the contents of the variable A. Similarly, we are kind of able to figure out the address of the variable abs underscore A and the contents of the variable abs underscore A. So now we use this command next, means continue, go ahead and execute the next instruction. So when I press next, what happens is the condition on line number 12 gets evaluated, and since the value of A is 10, what will be the next statement that gets executed? What will be the next statement after line 12 that gets executed? Line 14. Okay, so control transferred to line 14, and after line 14, what is the next statement that gets executed? Line 21. So we go to line 21 and next, and we come out of the program. Yeah. So you see how we are able to trace the execution of the program using GDB. Isn't it fun? And using this, we can debug our programs very easily. Anaika has this question. It's so Anusha has a good question. So there are other ways we can just use next to continue. We will look at those commands later, but for the time being, just focus on what we are saying. Now let's run the program again, and I will answer Anaika's question. So run. So the breakpoint is still there on line number 12. So I will put the -10 is the input. So on line 12, the program it is about to execute line 12. So since there is a breakpoint on line 12, we stopped executing there. After line 12, what will be the next line that gets executed? So it goes to line 18, that is the else part. Okay, it goes to line 18. So it goes to line 18, and after line 18, what gets executed? Line 21. That's it. Yeah. So it gets printed. If you just press enter, whatever the previous command that you have given, that gets executed automatically in GDB. So the previous command is next. Line 16, it doesn't have, essentially the important instruction that gets executed is 18. No, it didn't go to line 14, Patanjali. It stopped at line 12 only. Explain what, Rohan? No, it didn't go. So let's run it again. So you can check again. So if you enter 10, we are at line number 12. So A greater than or equal to 0, we don't know. We are at line number 12. And if I say next, after A is greater than or equal to 0 is evaluated, we go to line number 14. Yeah, we are at line number 14. We didn't still execute it. So after we evaluated A greater than or equal to 0, then only we went to line number 14. Okay, so in order to kind of make it easy for you, let me use another interface called as run the program again. I use this text user interface. So disable, enable. So now I'm running the program from the beginning. I'm entering 10. Pay attention. Pay attention. Entered. So there is a breakpoint. We enter the value, and there is a breakpoint at line number 12. Are you all with me here? That The program read the input on line number 9 and there is a breakpoint at line number 12. Because of that, we stop it there. When I say next now, statement 12 will be executed, and after statement 12 gets executed, which one should it go to? It should go to 14, and that's what happens. I said next it goes to. And after line 14, what should happen? It should go to 21. And that's what happens. And that printf statement doesn't print nicely in TUI because of some display problems. So now let's run the program again with -10 and see what happens. -10. Just say what I'm telling, guys. Okay, break is a breakpoint which tells at that particular point the program stops executing and hands over control to us, so that we can observe what is happening one time, one instruction at a time. Okay, -10. So we are running the program. We entered -10, and then now we are on line number 12. Are you with me? If I do print A, what do you get? We get -10. Are you all with me here? Why did we stop on line number 12? Because we kept a breakpoint on line number 12. That's the reason why we stopped on line number 12. After line number 12, where do we go? Line number 18. See, next. We went to line number 18. So Rohan, 16, so 16 is, doesn't mean anything, okay? Doesn't mean anything means logically from 6, else is for you to look at, okay? But so the first instruction it actually has to execute is line 18. Yeah, it went to line 18 because A is negative. Like for example, why it didn't go to line 17? Line 17, it is just for our convenience, no? That left flower bracket, right flower bracket, but semantically speaking, the thing that you have to execute is abs underscore A equal to minus A. But line number 12 is where you have to evaluate A greater than or equal to 0, na? Line number 12, we can change the breakpoint. Utsav, did you get it? You have a bunch of questions. I'm not going to answer those questions. I want you to understand the flow I am taking you through. Okay, if you understand this, the other things you can get by yourselves. You can have more than one breakpoint, delete breakpoint. There are lots of things you can do. I want you to see what is happening in this program, the flow of execution. That's what is important. After line number 18, what happens? Which one gets executed? Line number 21. All right. So in terms of so what is happening here in terms of flow chart? This is what is happening here. So here we are comparing. Whether A is greater than or equal to 0. So what are we doing here in the program? So we use this printf, scanf, and all this blah. But in the program, what we are doing is we are reading the value input into variable A, read input into variable A. We are comparing whether A is greater than or equal to 0. There are two possibilities. One is yes, the other is no. If it is yes, what happens? Then abs underscore A is equal to A. And if it is no, then what happens? abs underscore A is equal to minus A. And after this gets executed, then we have this print statement print A, and after print gets executed, we are exiting from this program. This is what is, and before A, this is what is called as an entry point of the program. So this is what is called as a flowchart for our program. So given a problem, we have to, the main crux of this is this flowchart, which is independent of any programming language. This is the algorithmic thinking that you have to develop. When we have written abs_abs.c program last class, you are all confused about what is printf, what is scanf, what is this ampersand a in scanf. All those things, these are language nuances, and they change from one language to another language. From C++ to C to Java to Python, these things change. But if you think about the core flowchart, the algorithmic logic, it just remains the same. It is the core. And when you take this flowchart and when we write a program, you can pick any programming language, and every programming language has its own syntax. Python has its syntax, Java has its syntax. So based on the language rules, we express this algorithmic logic. But if you look at the flowchart level, it's this is the core thing, that's all. And questions such as, like someone asked the question, why not after line 14 gets executed, why we didn't go to line 16? That is because that is how the language semantics is. The semantics of the language is in an if then else statement. After the statements in the if block got executed, you go to the statement which is after the if. Are you all with me here on this flowchart thing? Yes or no? When a problem is given, you think about the algorithmic logic first. And then you go look at Essential C handout, or you look at one of the textbooks that you have to figure out, hey, in order to, what is the right format that I have to use to read a floating point number, or what is the right scanf statement to use to read a integer. So on and so forth, you try to get, and if in order to do this relational operator comparison, what is the operator that is available in the C programming language? Or how does the if then else construct looks in C programming language? All those things we can look up in the book, but the core algorithmic logic is, this is what it is. So Aman, if you restart our computer, your program is lost, nothing will be there. So don't have. And actually, so later on, for the first 4 weeks, I would like you to use terminal, use GDB in the terminal. But later on, let's say if you want to keep a breakpoint in VS Code, you can use the VS Code's debugger. VS Code uses GDB in the backend. And if you want to keep a breakpoint on line number 12, if you hover your mouse over line number 12, you get a red dot, light, and if you click there, it becomes proper red dot. So now there is a breakpoint on line number 12. And when you run your program in VS Code, so it sees a breakpoint on line number 12 and it stops. So in order to exit from GDB, you have to use quit, or Control D will also do. Okay, so before I take any more questions, so are you all with me here so far on how we can use GDB? And you should use GDB while solving problems. It will really help you to quickly converge to what you are looking to isolate the problem. You can isolate your bug very easily. So if you're all good here, then I will, let's look at, we want to extend this program because this one, you run the program once and you're all, you have run the program, but you want to keep continuing this process. After one after another, you want to do the thing. So what do? Control S, we are writing a new program now, ABS O2.C. So after line number 22, so you want to repeat the same process. So you want to go to line number 6 again because you want to repeat again. So how do we say go to line number 6? So we have to name line number 6. Okay, so we name line number 6. We give a label to line number 6 or whatever that statement, or we rather give a label to the printf statement, and the label that we give is begin, and then at the end we say go to begin. Are you with me here? So the program continues to execute on line number 25. Once it hits line number 25, it goes to the beginning of the program. So now GCC ABS. What is the weird thing about this program? Can someone tell me the weird thing about this program? Yeah, it runs forever. Why is this necessary? Yeah, that's how calculators work now, Patanjali. Because you compute something and then again it asks you, what's the next thing that you want to compute. So you enter 10, it prints minus 10, minus 9, minus 100, minus. So it continues. So at the end, it comes to line number 25 and then it says go to begin. And by the way, so here begin means it can be anything, okay? It can, like for example, if I change this to end, will this work? Do you think this will work? I say go to end. Yes, right? It's going to work. Let's see if it works or not. So, how do you terminate an infinite loop? Control C. Control C to terminate the infinite loop. Sorry, dot slash out. Okay, it still works. I used end, but it still works. Okay, Control C. So let's get back here. It's not nice to write code like this. Okay, so now let's debug this program. GCC minus G, ABS go to .c, GDB a.out, break main. Yeah, I don't want a breakpoint. Yeah, let's put break at the beginning of the function main and run the program. Run. And so next, so line number 9 gets executed. Enter the value. I enter my 10. So now we are at line number 14. We read the input print A. After line number 14, what will be executed now? If I say next, we are on line number 14, it is yet to be executed. So line number 16. After line number 16, what line will be executed? Line number 23. After line number 23, which line will be executed? Line number 25. After line number 25, which line will be executed? We are going back to 7, but effectively line number 9 gets executed. We go to line number 9. And after line number 9, line 11, and no, so Let's say I enter 0. So is 0 greater than, it goes on. Yeah. 0 is greater than or equal to 0. Yeah. And then again, we get go to begin, you go to that. That's it. So it loops forever. Okay. You're all with me on this example, on this infinite loop. So technically, theoretically speaking, you know using the features that you have learned today, so far rather, and I need to introduce one more feature, arrays. Using these features, you will be able to write any arbitrarily complex program. The problem that you are going to solve on the last day of this course, you will be able to solve using the features that I have introduced to you today. I mean, computational problems. There are different kinds of problems we can use, right? Like, for example, sorting, searching. There are tons of problems we can, programming problems we do. All those problems we can solve using the features that we have discussed so far now. Yeah, bubble sort, insertion sort, everything. I just have to introduce only one thing, that is arrays. In the next class, on Saturday class, I will teach you array. So an array is like, if I just say int a of 100, then that means we are declaring an array of 100 integers. So just add line number 7. So now you have, using the features that you have seen, every program you will be able to write, theoretically speaking. So you're all empowered now. We can do complex things. Anything, program, basic calculator, complex programs, anything we can write using the features that we have discussed till today. Can we practice on, I said theoretically speaking, but so in order to go ahead, Vinkesh, and try what's the. So how do we remove breakpoint? So it's very simple. Delete, when I say delete one, delete breakpoint 1. All right. So that's all for today. Today, you learned very powerful ideas. The idea that, when you write programs, focus on the core algorithmic logic, that flowchart picture, have that in mind. Don't get bogged down in printf, scanf, and all those things. And then second idea is, of course, the idea of GDB, how we can use GDB to trace your program. And then how we can use this go-to statement with label, etc., to write loops. Can we make a GUI using C? And it is possible, but that it is painful. It is possible, but painful. So. Hey, don't worry about line number 7. I just delete. We'll look at it next class. See, the recordings are all uploaded, right? So far, Vinkesh? Yeah, it's done, huh? This one I will do today. Yeah. Yeah, you have the lab and tutorials tomorrow. And let me stop recording.